Okay, it's about 10:15 Sunday morning, October the 13th. Weather's supposed to be pretty good today. It's about 82, 83. It'll probably get up to 87 or 88. Been walking most days for the last month and getting up to longer distances, usually no more than 4 miles. And yesterday I did about 10 miles, and today I'm going to try 16 miles on instead of going around in circles in the neighborhood. I'm going to walk somewhere. I'm expecting it to take about 5 hours, and hopefully I don't feel bad. If it works out well, maybe down the road sometime in the future I'll try and do some long backpacking trips, which I think I would really enjoy. So I hope you will follow along with me and see how it goes. Good, how are you? So this is one leg of the rectangle that I've been doing that is .68 miles each circuit, and I started off doing 5, and then I typically do 6. That comes out to about exactly 4 miles. Been doing that in about an hour and 8 minutes, and so I think that pace is pretty good. It's a natural. It's not super fast, and I'm not getting hurt. So we'll see how I do today. It is a beautiful day here in Miami. So I've been in this neighborhood for about 30 years. It'll be 30 years this coming summer, so a little over 29 years so far. I think I actually bought the property that the house is on in 1989, so that is 30 years ago. And then it took about 9 months to build the house, and used to do this route with my daughter Rebecca on the back of a bicycle. She really enjoyed riding on the back of the bike when she was an infant, and it's been a great neighborhood. Pretty stable, really. A lot of people live here for decades. There were a few people left that were here before me, probably 7 or 8 households, and but you know, people are getting older and going other places. So this is off my regular route. I don't normally go this way, but we're headed south towards the Charles Deering estate. So about 100 feet to the east or to the left is the Ludlam Trail. Used to be the railroad right away from Henry Flagler's railroad right away that went down to Key West. Actually, no, that probably wasn't the route. That this spur isn't the route that the Key West train wasn't the original route, it was a route from the 1920s. And last December, the county purchased it 6.2 miles from a place called Dadeland Station, Dadeland North Metro Rail Station, to up near Miami International Airport. And it's fenced off now. I used to walk that rather than being on the road, but this is the route I've been having to take since they fenced it about 2 years ago. So we're hoping, there's a group of us, well, many thousands of people actually are hoping that it will be reopened to pedestrian traffic and bicycle traffic in the years ahead. You can begin to see the high-rise development in the distance. That's near the Metro Rail mass transit station, and probably there's like a little mini city that has developed around the 2 train stations there. And so this is kind of an urban hike for the most part, and see how it goes. Saw someone off in the distance walking. Very few people walk in Miami, maybe because it's pretty hot and humid most of the time, but I'm pretty used to it. However, I would say my neighborhood is the exception. It's really nice that there are a lot of people. When I say a lot, I might see on some evenings 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different people, parents with kids, people walking dogs, fathers and sons. It's nice. Not too much bike riding though. I'm a biking enthusiast, but the distracted driving has made cycling on the road in Miami almost suicidal. So, and but anyway, at least there's nice tree canopy here. It's you know, mid-October, not brutally hot like the summer. You can begin to see some of the high-rises near Dadeland, and big houses. So they go through kind of an urban center here to get across US 1 South Dixie Highway, and that's there's a good place to cross. Probably the only one, you know, there are not many places you can safely cross the highway, but this is actually has a pedestrian signal. It's near one of the Metro Rail stations, and so I'll pick up again. And there's, I don't know what the name of that is, the Snapper Creek Expressway. Under is the structure over there, which is a toll road, and just kind of see if I can make a good pace and get down there around lunchtime. So one of my pet peeves as a cyclist that likes to ride on sidewalks to try and avoid getting hit is people that park on sidewalks without any regard for people that might be disabled or riding a bike. Anyway, this is more or less the southern end of the Ludlam Trail here. Over there is, I don't think, going to be officially part of it, and from here it goes pretty much straight as an arrow north to the airport area, about 6.2 miles, and that's going to be a wonderful thing when it happens eventually. But right now it's really tough to get in. They had like chain fence, you can see up ahead, those concrete posts with little chains, and it was easy to just step over the chain, but not anymore. It's very well fenced. So the high-rises over there, kind of in a sea of suburbia, have a nice feature in one respect, in that they have a very far view. And I think as you get up above the 4th or 5th story, you can see all the way out to Biscayne Bay, which is a really beautiful view. And in addition to being able to see to the west. So a lot of people from the area retire, get rid of their cars. They're shopping nearby, grocery stores, Dadeland Mall. Over here in the building straight ahead is a Target and a Dick's Sporting Goods and a Michael's Craft Shop. Good morning. Few homeless people around here. This is the second person I've seen in, this 20-minute walk so far. And that's an area under the overpass that stays pretty dry. Where I'm headed is the crossover of the canal, the Metro rail station. There's a little lizard there. A lot of exotic creatures in South Florida. Iguanas and boa pythons and boa constrictors and crazy creatures from all over the hemisphere, I guess. People import them as pets. No mountains in Miami, but there's some interesting stuff to look at, I guess. These apartments are really geared towards people that don't want to have cars, which I've heard people say saves $8,000 to $10,000 a year in living expenses. Very grateful that people stop at the stop signs instead of ignoring the crosswalks. goes my hat. I got it. Thank you. I got to use my chin strap. So this is Snapper Creek Canal. Used to be a real creek and became a drainage canal for the South Florida Water Management District. And we're underneath the guideway, elevated tracks for Metro Rail. I would say 80 to 90% of the Metro Rail system is above ground like this. I think they completed it in 1984, and I worked on the one of the stations. Back in 1979-80, I worked on one of the stations called Okeechobee Station. So we're going to cross the street here at the Dairy Queen. That Dairy Queen, I think, has been here certainly since the 60s and maybe since even the late 1950s. So coming up to Kendall Drive, and I'm going to pass fairly close to the neighborhood where I grew up. This intersection ahead didn't originally have a pedestrian crossing, and about I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, some University of Miami students from China were struck and killed one night by someone. You know, there's street lights now, but there were not at the time, and they were tragically killed. And now the village of Pinecrest has put in lighting and crosswalks. So, you know, it's a shame that people have to die before pedestrian safety improvements are done. So maybe South Florida will begin to transition more away from just thinking about cars and thinking more about walking and biking. And this apartment complex here has been here as long as I can remember, certainly from the early 1960s. And I think one of my brothers lived over to the left in a place called Sun Moon Lake. He lived there in the 80s or so. Anyway, looking for shady streets. And this is pretty much the direct route that Google suggested for pedestrians. Okay, so this is really getting close to my old neighborhood, the stomping grounds even when I was a young kid. Just within walking distance, playing distance with neighbors. And it's changed, of course, dramatically over more than 50 years. This is really almost started out as remnants of an agricultural area with a lot of mango groves and avocado groves and pine, undisturbed pine forest, not first growth, but probably all of it had been logged at some point in the 20s. But in the 40s and 50s there were still some trees that were too small to cut in the 20s, so had gotten pretty big, and very few vacant properties any longer. We had lots and lots of space to play back then, big open fields and things like that. So I have a good friend that lives off to the right. His parents' home is still, since the early 1950s, still off to the right, and he's there taking care of his mom and dad in a big house. And off to the left is home of the Wood family, and they used to have a horse that we rode named Comanche, and they had an acre for the horse and then an acre for the house. And I was just thinking, the first time I ever used a 35mm single lens reflex camera, I was about 12 or 13 years old, using a Honeywell Pentax. So headed now over there. I heard that they are selling their beautiful property, and in that direction towards the high-rise buildings, about another block, is the place where I grew up. The house was an acre lot that's been divided into two, but dead ahead is the street that I grew up on, and this house will be sold, and they'll build a monster house on it, I'm sure. And it's sad, but the thing that never changes is change. So this kind of to help me remember this in the years ahead. So now on Ludlam Road, the road that is the namesake for the Ludlam Trail, and this bike path continues for a couple miles southbound, and actually continues quite a ways, becomes the Old Cutler Trail. So I'm going to be on this for quite a while, walking through the village of Pinecrest. So up ahead you see the problem with bike paths, even major bike paths like this one. You have people that just block them, plus all the driveways, of course, blind driveways where people pull out, which makes it very dangerous. So most serious riders, of course, ride on the road. But either way, riding bikes is dangerous, sorry to say. So this is kind of a nice section here. Lots of nice sections along Ludlam here. Seen quite a few people biking and jogging. Not too many walkers. The guy up ahead is, I guess, cooling down after a run. Way in the distance. Big houses here. Oh yes. So we're getting there. Just coming up on an hour now into the walk. So gone probably about 3.5 miles, looks like. So For the first time ever, I turned on my step tracker and it just notified me that I did 6,000 steps so far, which I guess is about 5 miles. Here you see another one of my pet peeves, a fire hydrant in the taking up part of the sidewalk bike path, and of course the hedge is overhanging. Doesn't leave a lot of room, but at least there's something, I guess. At least there's something. And here come some bikers. So I'm going to step off to the grass to give them room. Watch out for that fire hydrant. Yep, some nice sections of paths here. I think I'm coming up on 5 miles in a little bit. And so coming up to another old neighborhood. Was married to Carla for, I guess, 3-4 years. And we had many nice evening walks in this area here. To the left is an area called Devonwood, with big oak trees. It was a hammock. And Carla lived to the right in Old Pinecrest neighborhood. And we're coming up about a quarter of a mile from Old Cutler Road, and we'll cross Old Cutler Road and continue south. So, walking along Old Cutler now. I was going to take a side route to have a little quieter walk, but this is the route that Google wanted, and this is the main bike path. This is a better bike path than the one on Ludlam. It's one of the major bike paths in the county, and I think I have like about another 2.5 miles to go, so not too bad. And it doesn't look like it's actually going to rain, so I'm happy about that. And just keep walking. So I think I am going to make a little jog to the left up ahead to take the scenic route, get off the main route here, which is every now and then I get a nice lungful of diesel exhaust. And this is where my nephews did their Cub Scouts, I think, in the church right over here. All 3 of them were Eagle Scouts, and they did a great job. And they're all in college now, or actually one of them has graduated and learning how to fly jets pretty soon. So I'm going to make a left up ahead. So I'm on 69th place here. Started off on 70th Avenue, so literally almost completely straight south, but I'm 80 blocks further south. Hoping I can get over to the road here, but not really sure that I can. I may follow the power line right away here to see if that'll get me there. Not really sure. Haven't ever gone this way, but I bet you it will work. Oops. this is some kind of preserve. So this is actually kind of nice. A preserved natural area, part of the Charles Deering Estate and the FPL right-of-way. Used to be a power plant straight ahead, which they tore down about, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. It was a peak load plant. And, but anyway, this is what the whole area looked like. Well, it's of course got a lot of invasive species now. And it didn't originally have the power poles, but you can kind of see the remnants of the wax myrtle and palmetto and pine and some of the other native plants. See if I can spot any mahogany and gumbo limbo, that kind of thing. But it's unexpected little side trek here. And I'm hoping to come up on the road in just a minute. So you got some interesting plants here, and these little palms right here, silver palm, they're kind of rare. See how the underside of the leaves is very silvery. And I think I do see the road up ahead. Definitely see some buildings. So yep, we're getting there. I'm definitely off course. This is not going where I thought it was. But I just want to show this little, a silver palm and a kunti plant. The kunti plants are a root tuber, and it was harvested in the 20s to make starch for white starch shirts. So a lot of environmental restoration efforts going on here, and that's nice to see. But the only way these pinelands really stay healthy is with fire, and that's not a thing that people want with houses nearby. Oh, this area here, very old part of Miami, lots of hammocks. 152nd Street, and there used to be Snowden's restaurant here. I think that goes back to the 50s, but being developed for these schools here. So not a bad thing, just different. And just coming up now to the corner of the Charles Deering Estate, which is probably, I don't know, every bit of 300 acres, maybe as many as 600 acres. And we're going to walk hopefully through along the edge of that, through the middle of part of it. So stand by. So headed southbound again, coming up to the part that I really wanted to do on foot, which is this historic bridge, probably from the 1920s. That was part of the original Charles Deering Estate. And they give hikes out here. I did a hike with one of the rangers, just looking at all the native plants. And so there's, I think, a midden in the middle of this somewhere with some native remnants of native habitat. There was a creek up ahead that the bridge goes over that you'll see. So we're getting there. Looking forward to stopping and taking a lunch break. It's now 12:26, about 2 hours and 10 minutes after I started. So Google Earth said 2 hours and 19 minutes for this walking, and I took a little detour, which wasn't the right detour, but I was trying to get to this road off the main path, and I just went a little too farther back east. I doubled back, so that added about another 15 minutes, I would say, 15-20 minutes. So here we go. So we're getting away from the cars here. No more cars past this point for about half a mile. And protected natural area. And you can see there's some non-native bird species here. They're quite used to people. Let's see. They make a great, let's actually show it. They make a great sound. One over here. Peacocks, peahens. Oh no. Yeah, we're going to the Chinese bridge. Is where we want to go. Somebody else is walking. That's nice. The Chinese bridge is up ahead. Very colorful. Kind of in the middle of a hammock here. Has kind of a musky smell from stoppers, white stoppers, and different. There's some sable palms and gumbo limbo and ferns, and I can see off to the left getting into a wetland area here, marsh. Coffee, wild coffee. There's some coffee beans right there. And that's wax myrtle right there. Gumbo limbo with peeling bark. And here is the Chinese bridge. This was restored, the water flow here was restored as a freshwater source into the bay. It was originally dammed off to the south. So there were springs that fed streams, and this is fresh water, flowing pretty good. And royal palms and strangler figs and other stuff. So that's the Chinese bridge, which is a nice little waypoint. And glad you got to see it. So coming up to the end of the non-vehicular access area. Along the left is a stone wall. It was the boundary of the main part of the estate, and you see bikers way in the distance and walkers. Seen a few people mostly riding bikes, which is, you know, this is a protected area, so it's perfect for bikes. And I see someone going at a good pace. This is the Deering Estate entrance, and 444 acres is what it says. 1913 Charles built the house. I'm not going to actually go in because I don't want to pay the admission, but I'm going to show you that it's a nice walkway out to the bay. Historic house, and Richmond Inn is adjoining it. The Richmond Inn dates from the 1880s, I believe. It was one of the few buildings around, and I worked on that in the late 1980s on the restoration. So I'm gonna keep going. My destination is almost in sight. So we're at the entrance to the People's Dock, which is really where I'm trying to go. This is a strangler fig, and probably not that old, maybe 30-40 years old is all. And this part doesn't have an admission. And long ago, as a teenager, in my early teens or mid-teens, I used to come down here, drink beer, and there were just millions and millions and millions of land crabs that would be all over the place. And I think they've all died off over the years. So, and there's an interpretive center here for the park. Nice building. I'm going to stop in that on the way back. What in the world? Look at that. That's an unusual use for a truck, I would say. But, you know, it's a Ram, so maybe that's the best use for it. And here we are, the People's Dock. So headed down to the bay. Nice breeze, very nice breeze. So I'm going to sit down over here and wow, look how it's flooded. This whole area. Interesting. I'm going to find a spot in the shade to sit down, and I will walk out. I guess we have a little bit left of the king tide. Tides are really high. And there's the Deering Estate beyond. So I arrived actually about 12:52. That's about a half hour longer than what I thought. So yeah, I had a 15-minute side trip each way to the east and then back to the west. And I'm gonna go up to the interpretive building and have my lunch. I think it's not so wet, and that should be nice. There must be a place to sit. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too. So this building here is not sure. Oh, done in 1999, and they have these shutters that come down and protect the windows. Kind of interesting. And it looks like they had additional shutters as well, because the wood shutters probably weren't product approved. So I'm gonna walk around and see if there's a drinking fountain, which I just heard there is. And let's see, Fullerton Diaz Architects, Beauchamp Construction did the construction. I know some of those people. Great. So I'm having a iced coffee here at Starbucks. This is off the bike trail, and there's a tadpole there. Haven't seen too many people riding those around. But a lot of people inside using the Wi-Fi. And the coffee's pretty good, actually. So this is looking back from where I just came from, Old Cutler. This is a trail on Old Cutler. And I'm going to continue in this direction. But this is one of the nicest sections, because at least it's all woods on the right-hand side here. All natural protected area. And we're coming up to the place where they restored the springs. Saw a big lizard in front of me. So there you can see the kind of nasty wetlands. So as I was walking towards the Chinese bridge, I heard a mom and a daughter talking about farmers market, and I see that it's at Coral Reef Park. There's about a half-mile detour. I'm not going to do it, but even in the middle of Miami, people try and do farmers markets. Kind of nice idea. Glad to see it. So just 2 minutes after 4. So I've been on this journey since about 10:20, and I did stop for about 50 minutes for a rest break at the Charles Deering estate. Had an apple and a peach and took my shoes off for a while. And so I'm kind of on the last mile. And see how people just kind of want to hit you as you're walking down the road? It's really sad. Anyway, 1 mile to go, and my feet definitely hurt. My legs hurt. So this was probably the most I could do without additional training, but I'm going to keep trying. I don't know how I would do with 20 or 30 pounds of weight on my back. That would be a whole different ballgame. And if I was climbing up and down mountains, man, I can't even imagine. So we'll see. Okay, 4:20. Seems like it took 6 hours to go 16 miles. So, and that's with the rest stop at lunch for about 50 minutes. Oh, and stopping at Starbucks for coffee. I'm tired.